Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chassidus in the morning. 15 minutes to hopefully change our lives. We're going to talk about tzedakah, gedol tzedakah, shemakaras agula, and we're going to continue davening for the hostages and the soldiers in Eretz Yisroel. We're going to focus on today Aden bat Alita. The mitzvah Hashem Aden bat Alita should be healthy and safe, and only good for her and for all the Aden and for Yosef Yitzchak ben Simcha. And enough of this galus. Okay, so now we're going to sort of start a new topic discussion. Ultimately, the discussion is about arrogance and things like this. But we're going to, today, hopefully I'm going to try to run through the whole parak. He's going to bring up a point of discussion that if we pay attention, the way we're created is very different than all other creations. And seemingly, on the externally, it looks that it's a worse. We're created in a, more not as good as the rest of creations. But ultimately, as we all know, it's always deep down it's better. Let's see. Also, we're going to learn about a few concepts that is like fundamental concepts of Chassidus. Let's see. Mammer says Vav Perak Aleph in this green book. It's page 215. And behold, ha'adam asher hu adam. Tzarich ladas, we as people need to know. V'chol adam sheyesh lo moyach v'kadkada yodea, and everyone that has a mind, everyone that has a brain understands. Asher adam hu bachir b'nivraim. Asher bara v'yatza HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That we are the choicest of creation that Hashem created. Out of everything that Hashem created, we are number one. And not just that, not just in our world, we are the most important. Really, in all worlds, even in the heavens. Yeah, we are the choicest of creation. We just stop here and we're good. We can go home. But it's a fundamental thing to understand, and I think this is very important because a lot of times people learn Chassidus, and Chassidus can be very straight and very honest, but. So they take that as if Chassidus is telling us that we're really bad and we're nobodies. And also in this Shemayim, you see it a little bit. Sometimes it speaks roughly. But the point is, we have to understand where the axiom where Chassidus is coming from. The axiom is that we're good. That we are the purpose of creation. And therefore, Chassidus' push is we have to live up to that. If we have potential, for 100 and we're reaching 50, so it's a problem. So someone's going to start telling us a little bit straight, not because they think we're bad people, but because they're trying to tell us we could reach 100. And that's what we're saying. So who ha'adam bri'ati chaynis mikol nivraim kulam. We are like the central, the fundamental creation. Hainu min hanivraim al yenim v'hei min hanivraim atachtenim. From the higher worlds and the lower worlds, hinei all creation that Hashem created, so now, in general, in creation, there's a body and a soul. Everything is created with a body and a soul. And with this, the physical world and the spiritual world, they're the same. Even though the higher spiritual worlds are very different than the physical worlds, that our physical world was created through the four elements, like it talks about in the beginning of Tanya, that earth, wind, of fire, wind, water, and dirt. So therefore, the four elements that everything is coming from. Whereas the heavens, the hosts, the higher spiritual things, only created from air and fire, very much more spiritual. earth and water are more physical. Earth is very physical, whereas wind and fire are very, very non-tangible. Like it says, like it says, he makes his angels with ruach, with wind, mishasav, and he's misharis, he's like helpers with fire. Yes, we see these spiritual things come from these more spiritual, refined elements. But nevertheless, but even though they're created from the more spiritual aspects, but nevertheless, that's what makes us equal. That we have a body and a soul. Everything has a body and a soul. Even though the heavenly hosts are created from the more spiritual fire and wind, nevertheless, they might be more refined, but they're still created with a body. And whereas the tzva haaretz, the earthly creations, even though it's created with water and dirt, which is more physical, nevertheless, they also have a soul. Meaning the spiritual ones, even though they're spiritual, they even have a body. And us, even though we're physical, we have a soul. So we have a relationship. We all have body and soul. The only difference is in their nature. The nature of the heavenly hosts, it's what's more pronounced, the spiritual, the physical. So the more spiritual, what's more pronounced is the spiritual, the neshama, whereas the physical, what's more pronounced is the physicality. Yeah, and that's and so ultimately what we're showing is on all levels of spirituality and physicality, we all have the similarity of neshama and a guf. Now, v'hinei haguf v'nefesh, the body and the soul, makbilim umasimim zelazeh. Now, something very beautiful about it is this body and this soul, they connect with each other. V'hainu even though physicality and spirituality, a body and a neshama, are two opposites, essentially. The soul is spiritual and the body is physical. And by nature, physicality and spirituality are very opposites. Nevertheless, it's made in such a special way that they fit each other, which is very profound, because how does your opposites fit together? It doesn't naturally happen. That's not a normal thing, but this is a very special, unique thing, that the body has a specific soul that goes into it. The zuhi achas maflois the flios Tamim Deim Yisbarach Yisala Be'inyan Brias Yesh Ma'ayin. This is V'Yischabrusa. This is one of the most wondrous things about creation that Hashem created. Meaning, in simple terms, you can't have to be more spiritual and then care so much about physical. The more you care about the spiritual, the less you care about the physical, and that's just the nature of the beast. You can't have a kach in spirituality and also have a kach in physicality. They counterbalance each other. So the more you connect with godliness and your godly soul, the less you connect with your physical animal soul, and meaning the voices inside of you. You're always listening to your nefesh lekis. Your nefesh Bahamas will have less of a say. I'm not saying it's not going to try, but by nature, if you become more refined and sensitive, so then you'll be less coarse and be easier to not listen to nefesh Bahamas. Shehurak b'cheik haberi baruchu shemafli alasois mekash ruchnis agashus bo'efen hamakbil umasim ki'ilu hayla chadim mischila yitzirasam. And this is the wondrousness of Hashem, that He's able to take something spiritual and something physical, which by nature are opposites, and put them together. And therefore the body and the soul are called a light, and a kli, a vessel. The soul is the light and the body is the vessel, which is funny, because the point of the vessel and the light, which means the light is the container for the vessel. But we're saying the container to the spirituality is the physicality, which is normally we're saying the two opposite things. And this is this is what the Rebbe Rashab is showing, that it's such a wondrous thing that the container for the spirituality is the physicality, which in general they're opposites. So now he's going to bring up the question how we're different. I want to try to run through it and finish it before the end of the day, so we can get into the more meat of this. But this is sort of the preface. Guf Adam Shina HaKadosh Baruch Hu Es Oif in Tzirasei Mitzias and Guf Ishan Ibrahim Asher Bara Aviyatza HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The way Hashem created us, the body of a person is very different than every other creation, than everything we said until now. T'chol Nivraim Hine Kisham HaKadosh Baruch Hu Oisei HaMaimer HaShayich LaNivraim HaHeim. When Hashem said the words that created those creations, Miyad Nivram Gufam, the nichnas behem nafsham, ushneim guf nefesh keechad yatzu al pnei adama. When he said it should be animals are created, an animal physical with the neshama. Straight, done. Kamei. Yeah, like on the third day of creation. That Hashem said about making plants and trees and the fruits and the grass. He said it. And it was, and it happened automatically. The grass and the trees, every one of them were made im nefesh with the soul that helps, that makes them grow. So with animals, so to the animals and the sea creatures, instant, a body and the soul, everything all together. Again, to summarize, everything was created, a body with a soul. That gives them life, together a one. Now, how are we created? The creation of a person. Hashem did it very differently for us. He created the body first by itself from the ground, without any life, any neshama. Like it says, Hashem created the person dirt from the ground. In the beginning we were a goylem, we were just an inanimate thing. And then he blew into us the neshama. Unlike everything else that was created instantly, they had a stage, we had a body without a neshama, and it was inanimate, just body. He made a body, and the body was coming from the most coarse thing, the earth. And was inanimate. Which is that dirt. Without any life. Which is the lowest level than all other creations. Even though everything came from the dirt, but everything else, Even though it also came from dirt, but it came immediately with the neshama. There was no time period; it was just inanimate. But by the animal, by the person, was only the body, inanimate, a golem, and then they added to the neshama. So we need to understand. So why did Hashem create us very differently than everything else? Not just why did He make it different. Seemingly, this difference makes it worse. Because everything else, even though it came from the dust, we never saw that they didn't have a time period of being just inanimate. They always had a neshama with them. Whereas the person, only afterwards we added the neshama. And after all this, that we had this time period of inanimacy, if that's even a word, was somehow the chasest. We are the chasest, the ones that had the time period where we were inanimate. We were lower than everything else. And we are the chasest. How does this work? How does that happen? Kitzur, Kol HaNivraim Yatzu, Kol HaNivraim Tzva Shamayim Tzva Aretz, all creations, the heavenly and the spiritual and the physical, Ba'al HaGuf and Nefesh, Hema, they all have a body and a soul. Tzva Shamayim Tzva Sheyitzirasam Misedis Hadakim Eish V'Ruach Tivam V'Agvaras Atzur Al Chemer. You have the spiritual things, creations that were made from the wind and the fire, and they're more spiritual than physical. Whereas the more coarse creations have the physicality that is more pronounced in the spirituality. And we said then there's this oneness that the body and the soul is the light and the vessel for each other, which is physicality and spirituality come together in this wondrous way. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shina Even Cheers Guf Adam, whereas us we're very different. We created so differently than everyone else. And similar what we're saying here is also that it's worse. So we have to understand why was it done this way and how are we meant to learn. What is it meant to teach us and amidst Hashem to be understood tomorrow. Have a great day.